And now it's time for our weekly Bucket of Trump. This week, like a mob witness floating in the East River, Donald Trump rose to the top of the polls among GOP candidates, reportedly drew a crowd of 15,000 in Arizona. But then Arizona Senator John McCain called that crowd a bunch of crazies. And so Donald Trump did his thing when asked about John McCain this weekend in Iowa.
Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you. He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
GOP candidates condemned Trump's remark on Twitter so fast they almost broke the sound barrier. Shortly after the firestorm started, Trump tweeted, "Captured or not, all our soldiers are heroes." All right, I'm back with Colonel Schaefer, Amber Smith, Michael Malice, Joanne, and Kat. And we're now adding the oddly bearded comedian Joe DeVito. How's it going, Joe?
Thanks, Greg. It's nice to be the tallest person on the panel.
Oh, that's very sweet. All right. I wanted to go to the veterans first to talk about what Trump had to say. But I wanted to actually instead, let's go to Joanne because you'll be his future ex-wife.
Yeah.
Did he just destroy his chances?
I think so. Here's the thing. The one thing I love more than alimony payments is supporting our veterans.
Yes.
And he didn't. It's really awful. And after coming off of Obama, who people have said, I feel like he doesn't really support our military that much, he has never said anything like this. And we cannot have a president who says something like this, even if he backtracks, because it's out there.
It's like almost a Comedy Central roast insult. Like he could, like if Senator McCain was being roasted on Comedy Central, that would be the joke that Jeffrey Ross would write. It's like, you're only a hero because you were captured, but you don't say it because he is a hero. Colonel Schaefer, you're a veteran. What do you make of this? What's your initial response?
Well, look, John McCain actually was on a fire team fighting a fire in the Forrestal in '67, putting his life on the line, besides, shooting off aircraft carriers, going into a zone which was actually full of MiGs and getting shot down. When I first met him, Greg, it was in '03 in Afghanistan, and we were still in an area of Afghanistan drawing fire. So by all measures that I'm aware of, he's a hero.
Amber, you're a helicopter pilot. You were in Afghanistan and Iraq, am I right?
I was.
How do you think the troops are going to handle this kind of comment from Donald Trump? By the way, on Facebook, he says he's a huge supporter of veterans, and he feels that McCain's let veterans down with the VA, and he's been disrespectful to his crowd, blah, blah, blah.
No, this was pure ego right here. That's all that it was. And I don't care what you think about John McCain's political career and what he's done. He was a prisoner of war for 5 years in Vietnam. He's an American hero. He selflessly served his country honorably. And so for Donald Trump to come out and say that he could have taken the higher road and said exactly what I just said, but instead he decided to go after him for his service to his country. And to me, all that shows is how Donald Trump really feels about America's veterans and our current military. And to me, that's not Commander-in-Chief material.
It's interesting, Joe. I believe he defended John Kerry when people were going after his military service, saying that shouldn't even be discussed. And then he does this with McCain. Do you think it's just because Trump has absolutely no filter? Or but that is kind of a problem.
Yeah, I think it's not just that he has no filter, but he exists in a universe where there's Donald Trump and then everything else.
Yes.
So he doesn't really relate to anything that's not Donald Trump too well. And if he's so worried about who's taken prisoner during a war, maybe he shouldn't use photos of marching Nazis in one of his promotional materials there.
Yeah, that's
such a big deal. Yeah, this just shows he's not ready for prime time in anything where he's not going to be in charge of the galaxy. It's time. The fun show is over.
The fun show is over. Let's show that again if we can.
Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you. Do you agree with that? He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
So, Michael, it reminds me of like when a comedian steps over the line and you just lose the crowd.
Yeah, the term for people who are in a country they shouldn't be that don't get captured is illegal immigrant. So I'm glad that Trump has flip-flopped back again to his original position to defending them. Trump, I think, is terrified that he's actually leading in the polls because he just wants to be on TV and he doesn't actually want to sit in the Oval Office, which would be a step down from his mansion.
Yeah, by the way, he might not get – I thought he was going to get a TV show after this, but maybe he might not. Catherine, isn't this – I have a theory that this has something to do with Donald Trump. Whenever anybody criticizes him, he takes it as disloyalty. And so he surrounds himself with sycophants that always agree with him, and then he ends up in this position. Does that make any sense?
Well, that's exactly what I've been thinking, is it sounds like everyone's done with Donald Trump, and I'm kind of disappointed because there's one thing I really still want to know from him, which is how do you get that kind of delusional self-esteem, right? That must make life so fun. How would you ever be sad? I would love to walk around feeling so good about myself that I thought that I could make fun of or slam someone saying they're not good enough of a war veteran because they were captured, when the only battle I'd ever been involved in was one to sell the best tie.
Yeah, well, it's true. He had 2 student deferments. And was ultimately declared ineligible, given a Final 4F deferment.
Yeah, no matter what happens to Trump, he's never going to be sad. And I think that he should change and become a therapist for people with low self-esteem and teach them how to believe in themselves at a delusional level, so they can walk around smiling all the time.
That's true. He could really, really help me out. You know what? The thing is, we're kind of like, we're making fun of Trump because we consider him less sophisticated than other politicians, but he really isn't. He might just be a little bit too honest and reckless, but I don't see how you can get out of this.
But I think that that's what people originally liked about Trump. First joined the race, is they're like, oh, he's going to say what everybody else is thinking, and that's what we like about him, is he tells it like it is. But don't go after America's veterans. Like, how dumb do you have to be? That is political suicide right there.
Yeah. By the way, we taped this show. What time did we tape this? About Saturday evening. So there might have been some changes since then. So if this sounds remarkably dated, it's because it is. Because that's what happens when you tape a show. The RNC statement, if I can read it without my glasses. Senator McCain is an American hero because he served his country and sacrificed more than most can imagine, period. There is no place in our party or our country for comments that disparage those who have served honorably. I take this as meaning Donald Trump finally gave the RNC the open door to go in and say, enough. Yeah, we've had your fun.
They were desperate to have a hammer to whack this mole for weeks, and they didn't know how to come out against him because of these 15,000 people crowds that he's drawing. And now they have that weapon.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see hardcore conservatives defending this guy when there'd be no way they would defend Hillary Clinton if she said this, or Bernie Sanders if they said this, or anybody from Occupy Wall Street. If you feel that this is an awful statement made by them, then you cannot walk away from this and saying, oh, it's no big deal.